Hey guys, as always, thanks for stopping by. Wearing masks and being a gray man or a gray woman. Yep, laying low. Let's talk about that. Today's episode is brought to you by USCCA. You know them, it's the United States Concealed Carry Association. They stand up for your right to be a responsibly armed American. But the big one is, if you're ever, heaven forbid, forced to use your CCW, that's where the USCCA steps in. They cover bail, they cover attorney's fees, and they cover civil and criminal defense costs, and they pay to replace your gun if it gets confiscated, yep, which it probably will. The USCCA protects you after you've protected yourself and your family. To join the USCCA, just click the link right down below to find out more about it. It's going to take you right over to USCCA.com. Let's talk a little bit about masks and being a gray man or a gray woman. I do want to say this. This video and your response, this is not, let's move beyond this. It is not about that situation, not at all. We're in a day right now, or maybe the entire month of July 2020 is all about the mask. Even my area here has kicked over, and I had to put on a mask this morning to go get a couple things at the store. I had to wear one into the box store to get some light bulbs. And some of y'all already may be fired up. I don't want to argue about data. I don't want to argue about the and I do know very clearly what happened in Florida. Yes, I know Florida has been cooking their books. That's all a separate issue. I'm talking about you and how large of a profile you create in your community and how you act and how you operate. The masks have really got me thinking about it lately. Now, I went on a trip a couple weeks ago, y'all know that, to Oregon, and it was kind of funny because I had a shall not comply with a huge shall not comply logo hat on while wearing a mask, and I think the hat should say shall comply. But I sat and thought about it. I watched somebody kind of get into it with one of the flight attendants, and then they came over to me and said, "Hey sir, would you mind putting a mask on?" He was very nice about it. And so I put it on, and I kind of thought about it for a while on that flight. How low do I lay? When do we choose our battles? What hills do we climb up on those hills and plant a flag and say, you know what, this is a hill I'm going to argue about? And there's a few that I will always fight. I will always fight you on the use of the font Comic Sans. I'm not even going to put a graphic up here to be funny. I'm serious about that. Don't use it. But with the masks, when do you fight that? What do you do? We're not talking about data. We're talking about standing up and maybe not really making a scene, but taking a stand publicly. Now, those of us in the freedom community, a lot of us carry, most of us do, CCW on a regular basis. And part of this, it's not just a hobby. I know it's a right. I know this is part of our freedom. This is the foundation of who we are and the fabric of who we are as Americans. But on some level, it's also a hobby. And anytime you have hobbyists, especially dudes, we like logos. We like putting things on the back of our cars, the back of our trucks, stickers that may say Smith & Wesson or Kimber or High Point, for those of y'all with some taste. But do you do that? It's a question I want to ask y'all today. How large of a profile do you make? Now, you have you. The way you act, the way you tend to dress, the way you have to dress for work, but also the choices you make in the evenings and the weekends, how you go about your day-to-day life in your community, and the persona that you put on. Some folks go really, really hard in one direction. They get really, really into the 2A. They'll get Punisher skulls or they'll get Molon Labe down their arm, looking at you, Mike. But they'll get these kind of tattoos. They'll go really, really overboard, giant Viking beard, and they'll have tattoos. They'll have all the way across their knuckles, you know, from my cold, dead hands on their knuckles. And they'll go really, really hard. They'll open carry. They'll strap up. They'll wear military helmets or whatever, all the way on that end. The other end of the spectrum are the folks that choose to be a gray man or a gray woman, but the idea of hiding in plain sight. In America, if you want to disappear, drive a Toyota Camry. Nobody even sees Toyota Camrys or a newer minivan. You'll never be seen. But it's that same idea that we don't maybe open carry. We don't put Punisher skulls on the back of our cars that say, "From my cold dead hands, communists." And it's a way of simply laying low. This is just a little bit about me, and this is not a prescriptive video. I'm not going to tell you what to do or how to do it. I'll tell you a couple things that I do, but it's really to get us thinking about it in 2020. And when do we stand up for our freedoms? Do we go into a restaurant right now and stand up and say, I will not wear a mask because I'm a free American? Or do we just lay a little lower and go in and we fight the system in other ways? Don't miss that part. Some of you will say, hey, Johnny, you're just saying just lay low. No, I'm saying there's other ways to fight the system. Let me tell you about me. I usually do not transport firearms from point A to point B in an obvious container. And I live in the South. Like here in Tennessee, I can do whatever I want. I could probably go with armed, literally out in the open, carrying them like that through the street, and the cops would stop and say, hey man, what do you got? Let me see it. I want to see it. That looks cool. Nobody would really care, but I'm still pretty careful. I did a video not that long ago about a gray man backpack. It's designed specifically for a takedown rifle or a pistol. And I had a lot of fun with it, but people ask me, Johnny, do you really carry something like that? Yeah, I do, regularly. Now, if I'm just going to the range or stopping at my dad's house or something, I'll use whatever, something tactical with patches all over it. But I do tend to maybe just a little bit dial it back ever so slightly. It's what I do. I wear a shirt, and I wear a lot of the SNC shirts, got a few of them sitting right there, that are a little bit cold dead hands, but none of them say I'm going to kill this communist for mommy. That's just not me. It's not really my personality, but I'd probably wear something like that. But I haven't open carried in years. And the climate here in my community is kind of okay. People wouldn't really kick up much of a stir if I did. I know every community is different and every person is different, and I'm okay with all of that. In Oregon, when I was out there, Clint Smith had a comment that I thought was really, really interesting. He says, for the rest of your life, from here forward, no more road rage. Do not stick the middle finger of your hand up as opposed to the middle finger of your knee. Don't put your middle finger up at anybody ever again for the rest of your life. You don't know who you're flipping off in traffic. Lay a little bit lower and don't end up getting into a squabble that is completely avoidable. I thought that was pretty good. I don't have a problem with middle fingering people. That's not really my style. But the overall idea, I like to take the bigger picture and say, what are some other areas in my life where I can lay a little bit lower? It's not talking about putting our freedoms behind us. It's not talking about saying, hey, we're not really as free as we should be. No, I'm talking about being maybe a little more careful in specific situations. Now, at a rally, different story. Carry the flag, strap up, put on your kit, wear your nods, do whatever you want. That's a different story. So I think every different situation we walk into maybe has different rules. I'm pretty active on Instagram. I'm super active on here, and so I've got to be a little bit careful. Keep in mind, now I've had some of y'all ask me, Johnny, well, you're just a fraud. You just ride the fence all the time. Well, keep in mind that one of the main channel sponsors of this company, and I'm pretty involved with them, is a company called Shall Not Comply. That doesn't mean we don't do non-compliance on Instagram or publicly. There's a lot of ways to fight back and to fight tyranny, and I do a lot of different things, some of it publicly. This is super public. I hope that this channel has made a difference in tyranny. I really do. I hope it's affected voter bases. I hope it's affected a lot of different things and maybe challenged you in how you think and feel. It's challenged me. But there's other areas where I lay pretty low. If you are going to drill a third hole in your rifle, I don't recommend it, but don't make an Instagram post on it. I hope all of the third hole drilling guys that have all those memes and those Instagram pics, that they're not really the third hole kind of people. I would think and hope that the third hole people are probably doing that a little bit lower. I don't recommend any of that. That's not my point. I'm just saying, should we lay a little bit lower than maybe some people do? It's really a question, should we lay as low as some people recommend, or should we stand up and plant the flag and say, I don't care what people think, I'm going to do what I want? We come back to the idea of masks, and it's really got me thinking, should we lay low? Is it okay just to strap that thing on, go about our business, and live to fight another day, or are there times to take a stand and fight? I'm asking it as a question. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying I've been thinking about it with our 2A community here. When do you open carry? When do you close carry? When do you decide to wear a giant Punisher skull or an anti-communist shirt? What do you put on your head with your hat wear? What about the back of your car? How about this? And here's a question I want to end with. Those of y'all that are going to be supporting Trump in the coming election, I know a lot of you are you willing to put a giant Trump sign in front of your house? That's a great question, because that is taking a huge stand and taking it publicly. I know it changes according to what community you live in, but there is some consequences to that, especially in 2020. It is a challenge. For me, my vote goes to, y'all know that, Paul Harrell and Clint Smith, 2020. To anyone that's against us, our freedoms, what we believe in and what we love, to anyone that is against the Constitution, the flag, and all of the Bill of Rights and the things that we hold in our hearts and hold dear, the fabric of our society, the fabric of who we are as a people, and the freedoms that we so enjoy. To all of those folks, from my cold, dead hands, bye.